Did you ever play flash games on cool math games? Or maybe addicting games as a kid during computer class or at home? If you're between the ages of 19 and 30, I'm sure this is a familiar experience to you. And bringing up the Papa Louie series pings something in your brain, a distant memory of happier times. I was one of those kids who loved the Papa Louie series and often played the games at home on the Flipline website. It seemed like every year or so they'd tease a new entry, and I'd eagerly await the new minimum wage simulator. You could even design your own character in their designer and submit it for a chance to be featured in the next game. That was what got my brain ticking. It's been a while since I've kept up with the new games, but recently I downloaded some of the mobile versions, which I really enjoyed getting back into. Upon encountering one of the fan-made customers, it made me think about the contest that they had held for each new game. What if I made my own character? Granted, it won't be in a new game, but I can use my imagination. I remember being a kid and drawing my own Papa Louie characters in pencil. Why couldn't I do a more professional looking one now? And if you're wondering, no, I have no idea what happened to those old pencil drawings. Let's get started with Reference Rosie. She's a blank shell I made in Cupcakeria. I gave her a simple form so the image would be easy to use as a reference for my art. Basically, the art style is very vectory, and it looks like it was just used with the pen tool in Adobe Illustrator. It's kind of the opposite of my style, so imitating was definitely difficult for me, especially in Procreate. In hindsight, I think Clip Studio would have been a better program to do this in. Normally I have a pretty easy time coming up with characters, but something about the style and the existing lexicon of characters gave me a bad bout of art block. I came up with a few ideas, but never got past the sketch phase before I just scrapped them. One of them I think had potential, but the design I came with felt a little too boring. I wanted the character to have a lot of elements to them. I'll pop the little sketches up for you to see. I think the health inspector design was kind of a funny idea, but the drawing I did looked a little dull. I'll let you decide if you think this would have made a good choice. The design I ended up with was a skier named Montana. The reason her name is Montana, besides it being related to mountains and skiing, is in my headcanon that she's the cousin to Utah and Nevada. I think naming characters after states is pretty funny, and I thought designing a character that was related to an existing one tied them in a little better to the Flipverse. Yeah, if you didn't know, their universe is called the Flipverse because of course it is. So Montana it is. I am pretty sure people have actually named their child this, so I feel it's not too out there. Better than Utah anyhow. Montana would most likely just be a normal customer. I don't think she's annoying enough to be a closer. Since she is a skier, I think the world or area she appears in should definitely be a snowier biome, a place that sees winter a little bit longer than others. The world of Papa Louie doesn't make any sense to me. How a customer can be from X but will travel possibly hundreds of miles and on a boat maybe just to get a freezie. And every day for some of them. I've seen some fan-made maps online that try to condense all the towns to make it make more sense. But still, these customers are dedicated to the Papa Louie restaurant cult. Now, I'm not going to make up a whole new town and game. That's going too far for this drawing. But I did come up with a concept. Saladeria. You'll see me adding that to our flip deck card later on. To me, it seems there really aren't too many options left for new food concepts. I think Flipline has just about covered all of them. Or at least the foods that would make sense to create a game about. I think salads would be a good one since there are a ton of types of salads and toppings to keep it interesting. There would probably be a secondary station as well, maybe a drink or bread. I know they did bread in Pizzeria, but that does really go well with salad. Feel free to pitch ideas in the comments. I suspect Flipline has thought of salads, and maybe if they're still making new games, they'll consider it. So Montana will be introduced in my fake saladeria. She would definitely be introduced in winter, peak ski season. There's so many holidays in the Papa Louie games, it's hard to pick one, but I think Maple Mornings would be her favorite. Maybe she'd get a nice maple syrup vinaigrette on her salad. Actually, that sounds a little gross. Well, it wouldn't be a Papa Louie game without disgusting toppings. Maybe if I get a chance, I can design the Saladeria game with each order and cook station. If you'd be interested in that, please let me know down below. It would be pretty time consuming, but if it's something you'd like me to see, I'd be willing to do it. I do love a good world building session, and I think that would make a good video.
The horror.
Before I go on rambling too much about Saladeria, let's get back to the character. Since she is related to Utah and Nevada, I gave her blonde hair and lighter skin. I have to say, drawing hair and shapes this way felt very weird to me. I felt like I was transported back in time to the way I used to digitally draw, and I realized how much of that knowledge I forgot about. I used to enter online art contests a lot, and I used to use the pen or lasso select tools in Photoshop to make most of my shapes. Drawing them the way I did it here probably added more time than it should have taken, but that's okay. At the end of it, the process wasn't too long. I gave her some cute bunny motifs, like ears on her winter hat, and some pom-poms mimicking a bunny tail. I was going to give her a pet bunny, but I ended up not doing that. It can be implied, and I will write it out for her flip deck card. Now that the drawing is complete, we can actually add the flip deck card insert. If you go to their website, they have a whole section of flip deck cards for each character, which includes a little blurb about the character's backstory. They also sell these physically, but when I looked on their shop, they were all sold out. I'm not sure if that means they're super popular or they don't restock too often. I can even find them on eBay, so I don't know what that means. I guess they're the rarest cards ever. Once I added her name, I'll also add the game she was introduced in, and I'll read her blurb out loud for you. Montana remembers going to the Papa Louie restaurants as a kid, and her excitement grew when the announcement of Papa's Saladeria was going to be opening in her hometown of Crystal Peak. Her warm weather cousins Utah and Nevada are excited too, as they've come to stay with her in her fixer-upper cabin with her and her pet bunny Lemmy. When she's not working part-time at the local resort, she spends her free time skiing on the slopes, as she one day hopes to win the championship title of best slalom skier the world has ever seen. Now, if you're familiar with the newer games, they've got this whole sticker system that basically works as achievements. The cool thing about the stickers, though, is they can earn you new outfits for the customers. So if you get 3 specific stickers, it will unlock Style B for the customer, which will allow you to flip between 2 outfits if you get bored of one of them. Sometimes they will have Style C, which as far as I've seen is usually just a costume for a specific holiday and not something they will wear whenever. This definitely adds to some nice longevity to the game, especially if you've completed the game and need a reason to keep going. To keep in line with this, I decided to add a Style B to Montana. Since she won't always be wearing a ski outfit, especially when it's warmer, I gave her a more casual look, akin to what she wears at work or at home. I wanted to keep the same color theme with lots of warm colors with some teal added in for contrast, kind of a 90s look. You also get to see her whole head and hair now, so I had to go back to those layers and add in the top of her head, which I had neglected to complete in her first outfit. I mean, if you're not going to see it, why bother, right? Well, now I must bother. I added a couple of barrettes to her hair as it felt like it was missing something. She has matching bangle bracelets to tie them in. I think her outfit is very in line with the everything must match style of Papa Louie outfits. I also am going to assume the outfit somehow matches her food choices as well, as that seems to be the case with all the characters. If a character in Papa Louie wears nothing but purple and black, of course everything they order must also be purple and black. Even though I do like that and think it's funny, I think that would be really weird if that applied to real life. Imagine if your food choices had to be determined by your closet color choices. I think I'd be a little screwed, as most of my closet is blue and there are not many blue foods to eat. Even though this outfit is more casual and less bulky, it's still a more fall or late winter outfit, as the sweater vest and corduroy skirt are definitely not summer appropriate. But my headcanon for Crystal Peak, which I'm making up as we speak, is that it would rarely get warmer than 70 degrees Fahrenheit, even in the summer. It's one of those towns, you probably know the one, that is bustling with tourism in the winter and fall, and then completely dies during the summer months. Maybe Montana gets lonely during those months and visits her cousins on Calypso Island to get some much needed vitamin D. And of course she brings Lemmy. Also, if you know who Lemmy is named after, 1, you are cool, and 2, tell me below in the comments. If you have a favorite Papa Louie game, let me know which one you love the most. I remember the first one I ever completed was Papa's Pizzeria, but I think my favorite was maybe Pancakeria or Donuteria. I enjoyed the gameplay of Donuteria more, Plus, it was a newer game, so you had more customization options. But I have a soft spot for the breakfast foods. If they ever gave me an option for a custom worker, that was always the option I chose. I don't know why, but I always find I have more attachment if I create my own character rather than use one of the preset protagonists. And that goes for any game, not just the Papa Louie ones. Sometimes it's fun to come up with silly lore for your worker, although I always wish some of the customization options could be even wackier to match the customers. Especially when you have characters like Zolo and Xandra that are supposedly aliens. It always feels like your worker is a little too normal to be in this universe. Here's the final image. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you liked it, please consider liking and subscribing and checking out my other videos. Ciao, Papa fans!